Hello everyone, welcome to the third class of Conscientiogram without drama. I still cannot see you.
It's alright, it takes some time to...
It's gonna take a time, oh yeah, now I can see. So this class now is the last class that we are gonna have open, and the sheet that we are gonna work is on page 62. It's the evaluation sheet 3, minority child consent. Is in the intersomaticity section. So everyone should have the material by now, otherwise you can contact us by email and ask for the PDF.
Soft copy, yes, on PDF.
Some PDF, and then you can follow the class today. Huh?
That's perfect.
Okay. So, what is that sheet about? No? Also, before we start, we want to say that if you have any questions, if you want to interact with us, just send the questions. You can talk here, no? I see that Regina is already there, Lígia, no? Luimara, me. Let's see, I don't know if I see everyone, but there is some people there. In a few minutes, we are gonna... There is some people that might not have, is having some problem. We just ask you to send a message by mail, and then we can help you, no? Contact you. So, well, let's see. The first thing is about this evaluation sheet. Let's talk about this evaluation sheet. The evaluation sheet about minority, it means about our childhood. So you can, we have here in this book on page, let's see which page is that?
It's showing there, it's page
30?
30, I think.
Oh yeah, it's page 30, no?
It's page 30.
Let me go there, yes. You have human life phase.
What does it have to do here? It's not showing yet, Marconi. Can you have the desktop here?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want to show it, please.
Yeah. So we are in the section about soma, about intersomaticity. And that human life phase, we are talking about childhood. So if you can see you can see, I can see now too. It's much better than look at my book. We are improving. Marconi is helping us here to improve our technology in a way to talk to you in a better way. So you can see that is a index of age groups, no? And you have fetal life, no? That is, I'm gonna read here, from conception to rhizoma. Yes. So it's the time that you are in your mom's belly, no? You are inside your mom. So, and then you have neonatology, from the first day of intraphysical life to the 28th. So it's a little, and between that you have the birth, no? Because you are in your mom belly, and then you come to the world, and from the first day to the 28th you are neonatology. So you're neonatus. So, and then there is lactation from the 29th day intraphysical life to 2 years. And first infancy, that is from 2 years to the first day of the 4th years. And the second and the last infancy period, that is from 4th years and 1 day to 10 years old.
Yes.
So that is...
Some people also accept pre-adolescence as part of the infancy. Even Professor Waldo sometimes talk about the pre-adolescence as third infancy. So it's a period, it's a transitional period between, child and adolescence.
Yeah, but you see, in this book we have childhood and we have youth.
Yes.
And then you're gonna see to separate those two things. Because when you are a child, many things that happen in that time, we are gonna see that on the sheets, have an impact on your adulthood.
Yes.
Adulthood. So you have to understand that what happened that has an impact on you, now how you deal with that. So minority, this evaluation sheet is really specific about your childhood, because there is people that have a really great childhood and there are others that had some impact, some traumas from their childhoods. Some people have, it was really common in some years ago that they hit the child, and that has an impact on their emotional. There is childhood that receive a lot of affections, others not. There is children that receive had a culture environment and a lot of apports. How do you say apports?
A lot of investment, a lot of
a lot of investment from the family in their mental somatic things, in their intellectual things. So that is what we analyze. Some people have a great family and a really good conviviality. Others not. Other comes with people that is from the past and had lots of problems in their childhood, or a brother that was there in hitting all the time, or a sister that was really everything was for her and you didn't receive anything. That might impact you or not. So it depends how much. Also, it's not only about what you had in your childhood, but it's about how does it impact you till today,
Yes.
I think it's...
Yes, also all the things that we have as a child tells a lot about us. Tells a lot about our history, about our opportunity in life. This specific life has a lot to do with what we will do and what is our existential program. Our proexis is most of it is shown to us in our childhood. Obstacles, difficulties, all those things will make us different. Sometimes Professor Waldo talked about people that are geniuses. So geniuses, many of them had hard gestation, hard birth. Those things make you overcome some of the things and make you different. Even upscale, sometimes downscale. So that's what we need to study. It's not that it's all bad. And also some of those things change the way we see things. To educate ourselves, we need a lot of experience to educate or re-educate ourselves along our lives. So this tells a lot about the doses of what we received in the beginning.
Another point that we can see is related to our grupal karma. So in which conditions of relationships do we choose to reborn or resomate? Or also, were we able to choose anything or not?
Yes.
If you have an intermissive course, as we think we did, so we were prepared to face the difficulties and also the the whole environment that our family and group karmality offered to us. And sometimes we were restricted our discernment and we are not prepared. So many times as intermissivists we see our infancy, our minority period as something too much hard, and in fact we were more able to deal with it. But sometimes we just didn't perceive this situation. We didn't realize that condition, and sometimes we are not facing the facts with the maturity that we were able to. And we are going to evaluate many angles, aspects of our childhood in this evaluation.
There is also some words or some concepts that you can maybe some are from dictionary and some you will find in the book, no? Like here we are going to talk about consensual basement. That's an important concept to childhood. And so if you have any doubt, you have a glossary. So the glossary will tell you about consensual base. And
the glossary is on page 258.
Yeah.
In case you want to take a look.
I might read the consensual base because I think it's important, that concept, to this class, no? Consensual basement. Phase of infantile and adolescence manifestation of the conscience until reaching the adult period, characterized by the more primitive weak traits of the multi-vehicular, multi-existential and multi-millennial consciousness. So that's important because it's the things that we bring from previous life. So when you arrive in this life, you bring a baggage with you, no? You bring yourself that is made with weak traits, strong traits, weak traits, and mixed traits. That's the didactic we use here to explain explain how our personality, our ego, that is a way of looking at us.
Yes, basement is metaphorically speaking, right? Is a place where we usually store things that we tend to forget about, and they become with time old and left away there, but it still is there and makes a lot of difference to us. So it tends, in the childhood, we tend to manifest more naturally this. Why? Because childhood minority is the time where we are, our subbrain is manifesting itself more. What's the subbrain? Is our animal instincts, subcerebral. So instinct behavior, it comes first. So it also calls up for everything that is being stored. Stored is a good word, right? It's being stored or repressed. The psychologists will use more repressed on our consciential basement. So childhood is really important to study because of this, right?
Yeah, that's great. So now we are going to do our energetic exercise. So we ask you to be, just if you are in your room, just lock the door. Now, baby, try to create an environment there that no one can disturb you. You have a space, so you can sit in a good position, straight and comfortable position. Not so comfortable to sleep, but comfortable enough to do the energetic exercise. So, and we start by just try to close your eyes to stop the stimulation of the lights and from outside, and concentrate in yourself. Try to feel yourself. Feel your soma. Perceive your soma. If you need to make some breathe to relax your soma, to relax the tensions. Pay attention also in your energosoma. Perceive how is your energy right now. Just try to liberate your energy, your tensions. Pay attention to your emotional, your psychosoma. Just let it be, but just pay attention. Pay attention also to your thoughts, to your mental soma. Perceive how are you right now. And now focus in your energy. Put all your energy, concentrate in the up of your head, in your coronal chakra, in the top of your head. Just concentrate this mass of energy and slowly, in your own time, bring your energy down to your feet. Feel every space that the energy passes through your body. And once you achieve your feet, your energies achieve your feet, just bring it back up to your head again in your own time. Concentrate in the exercise, in your energy, and do this movement from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, with using your willpower, and slowly accelerate this movement in order to achieve vibrational state. More and more, you concentrate more energy, more strong mass of energy going up and down. Open up your energosoma. Expand your vibrational state to your room. Now sterilize your vibrational state. Start to exteriorize your energies. Exteriorize from your chakras, one by one, in your own time. Install your own field of energy. Exteriorize with your willpower and install your field of energy. Make room to the helpers. And all the conscious that want to study and learn, interact. Now slowly you start to exteriorize and start to absorb the energies, for the cosmic energies. The strong energy from this central of energies. See yourself as a consciousness. slowly stop of absorbing the energies and just mentally register your energies now. Register how do you feel now, how are you now. Register your experience and slowly start to breathe more profound and coming back, opening your eyes, reconnect with the intraphysical, but maintaining your lucidity. Okay? Is everyone okay? Good. Anything you can just type or send a message. If anyone wants to share anything, can be. Otherwise, we follow. That's it. Okay, everyone okay here? Good. So, let's start. Today is also, let's start so now our first page, right? So I will ask Luimara to start. Could you please, Luimara, read the first one?
Okay, so before we start the first question, we have to understand the context we are going to work in this whole evaluation sheet. So we are in the section intrasomaticity. So we have 10 evaluation sheets related to these concepts. Yeah, and this is the evaluation number 3, the minority child consent. So minority is the condition, the quality, and in order to evaluate this quality, we are going to analyze the period of childhood. So in brackets we see the practice, the condition of child and while in a consent condition. Okay, so now we are going to start number 41. A deceased human being while still in the childhood period due to any causa mortis. Orientation absolute 0, see page 39. So this condition of the absolute 0 was explained last class, and in this explanation you see if you have this condition of being deceased in a childhood period, your mark is going to be 0, and we are not going to evaluate the other 19 questions because you are in the condition of not being here anymore. Mm-hmm. So everyone here that is doing this class now is going to have the best mark in this condition. That
Mark
should
1.
be mark 1. Okay? So we can ask, why is this question here? Well, remember that we can do self-analysis, self-conscientiometry, and also we can analyze and to do the conscientiometry related to another person or to another personality. In this way, the 0 means that personality died in the childhood period, and we can be prejudiced about this. To our role analysis, is not the best condition. In fact, it's the worst condition. But according to evolutionary scale, we can't say the same thing, because although the first questions are related to the Conscientiogram, we are talking about the evolutionary scale now. See, the condition is not really the same, because we have the possibility of having a mini proexis. What it means that you are intermissivist, and when having this kind of proexis, your life period is going to be short, and you are going to have done your task in that short period. So we can be prejudiced when analyzing, because we can have both conditions, and they are opposites.
Very pathological.
But one thing is that if you died in a childhood, you cannot analyze that.
Yes,
so that's it.
In our case, the mark is going to be 0 if you have died. So no way to talk anything more
different. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. Even either way, being a Conscientiogram or not, the childhood itself, it ended abruptly, or ended beforehand, or ended there. So there was no childhood to analyze, and so forth.
So according to this, you can do your mark, and let's go on to the second.
Yes. So the second. Can I do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. 42. As a resonated consciousness during the naive or initial period, what was your social class and cultural class? Whenever we do this question, a lot of people arise with the question, do you have any prejudice? Is that good or bad to have social class and everything? The point here is that I'm analyzing the context within which I have resonated. It's definitely a better opportunity to have resonated in a better social class. There is no other way of saying that, right? Or cultural class. You're going to have more opportunity, more investment. What you're going to study here specifically is that, what you receive there. And also, to start, right? And also how that contributed to what you are today. Either having a good background or a difficult background. Sometimes the difficult background is also something that made you. A lot of people is made out of that, specifically in terms of, in evolutionary terms, in terms of opportunity and everything. So we need to think about the investment or not, and how this investment or lack of investment made out for us today.
Yeah, that's true, because sometimes if you see you have more opportunities if you're not going to be in a culture family that is about very well, that can provide you lots of cultures. But if you are gonna, it's music people that has this culture about music, that is something that you need to change. So you have to analyze all the impact that resonate, that social class is having on you.
Yes, that's a good point. For instance, if I was to give my own experience, I came from a low social class and high culture class.
That's great.
So I was almost poor, medium class, but really close to poor. when I was a child. But as far as culture is concerned, I had lots of teachers, right? The women in our family, they were all teachers. People used to read a lot, listen to classical music. They had a lot of knowledge, you know. My grandfather went to school just up to the third fundamental, but he spoke and written 6 different languages, and he learned by himself. He was a self-didactic person. So this is a very big thing for me. I had someone that was a good example in that sense, right? So but he didn't have a lot of study, a lot of education himself, but he had priority on those terms. What is the example I had because of that? She's saying sometimes social class is high, example bad. So you need to think about it. People are, you know, sometimes
Just
they
having
have pair parties, drugs and stuff. So this is not a good environment, right? So we need to think about it. What we received from this. This was really important for me.
And also how it impacts on yourself. How was were you affected of this condition, of this mesology? Because sometimes you can receive these inputs and not being so affected. In the others, you are going to use more and to transcend them, the conditions, good or bad. Yeah. So when we are talking about conscientiogram, we are not having the moral concept. Yes. We are going just to see the facts and how they provide information about our hollow memory, about our hollow condition multi-serials existential. Yeah.
Sometimes it's good for someone that isolate themselves in other lives, you know, just studying, just be intellectual, and now needs to improve their social things. So they come in a family that there is no social environment, even though the person studies and is, because it's from their self. So
specifically for that condition, in that context, at that moment, that was a good thing.
Yeah, and the person developed the intellectual thing really quickly. So you have to analyze if you are one of these persons. Sometimes there was a family that there was no access, so the grade goes down, but in a certain way that didn't affect you because you were interested in reading and you always searching that. So you balance that grade up, you know, and then you do the balance. No?
Yeah.
So let's go.
Yes.
The third one.
43.
What consequence did gestation leave in you? Were you born through a natural or an arduous birth? What was your filial phase evolutionarily poor or rich? Were you a spoiled or a victimized child? Wow, it's 4 questions in one. So that's all you have to pay attention. Because how do I grade myself? No? 4 questions. So let's start here. What consequence did the gestation leave in you? So when we are born, sometimes is not so good. So here in Brazil we have an APGAR, that is a grade that the babies receive when they are born. So if they have problems, the APGAR goes down. So you can also even use that to grade yourself, because sometimes we were not there, but our family knows what happened. So about when we were born. So what the gestation, your mom sometimes was stressed, was alone, or had some problems, had eclampsies, or the family or
Or
lost
smoked,
someone.
drank during gestation.
Yes,
Or
that's
Those things-
specific condition of diabetic gestation.
Yeah.
Yes.
So specific.
all
Yeah.
that can have an effect on you or not, because that's what you have to evaluate also. So the second one, were you born through a natural or an arduous birth? So here there is some, I have in my family, like we were 5, my mom had 5 children. So in the first one was forceps. Imagine it, the trauma, no, for both of them, for the mom and for the baby. And so how does it affect my sister? And I was cesarean?
Cesarean.
So,
Cesarean section.
and was calm for my mom, was calm for me. So, I cannot say how does it impact me. There is some studies about cesarean that say that people that comes from cesarean have they are not so strong, they don't do things, they are more insecure. I'm a little bit insecure, but I don't think that is impacting me a lot. So I grade well here, and I grade well in the first one. But then there is the third one. Was your filial phase evolutionarily poor or rich? That has to do with your, as a son and as a doctor, you know, with your filial phase no? And then here, I think I grade less because I don't have so much time with my father and my mom. I had some time, but not really much quality time. No, I cannot say that. I had some quality. My mom was really a good person, but it's like, as I can see today, they didn't have time. My mom had 4 children. She had all the time to be, you know, she was so busy that I was the last one. So I was a little bit neglected. So I felt that, and that affect me. So I see that affect me, so my grade goes down here.
Okay.
Were you spoiled or a victimized child? I think I was a little bit of both. So, and when I analyze me there, and as my mom couldn't be with me, so she compensate with things and coming and giving. So in the other side, I was victimized because of my, then we'll see later, there's other questions, but as my social situation, I didn't have, as Dijom, I didn't have a family that was wealth, you know, and then that impact on me a little bit. I victimized myself, maybe because I came from a previous life with everything, and then I came to a family that doesn't have anything, and then that impacted me. Maybe if I was already well with that wouldn't impact me so much. So that's why you should always analyze how the childhood impact you. And so here my grade was 6. No? 6 is, I consider that was
really good.
Was good, because I didn't have consequences. I know
Point 6, you mean?
Point 6.
Yeah.
It is a strong trait.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I just mean because of the mark, as I said, 1 to the first.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you are going to see.
No, to
Yeah,
point
to
6.
point
Sorry.
6, point
Yeah,
6,
No
that's
problem.
it.
From 0 to 1,
Yeah.
that would be
Yeah.
point 6.
That's
Otherwise,
really
I'm going to adjust the first to 10.
No,
the
no,
mark.
that's okay. Let's
Okay.
put 1 and
Yeah,
point
one-
6. I put point 6 here.
Yeah.
But that was a very good explanation of those. On the third question, I would add some interesting things about this.
Good.
This filial phase, evolutionarily poor or rich, has to not to, with money. It's something that she mentioned, but it's how that impact me in terms of evolution.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean we were discussing evolution. It doesn't mean we were talking about this. what we need to have in mind is that we know the environment. We knew the environment we were coming. More specifically, when you are second brother, third brother, you know where you're going in. You know exactly what is the environment you're going into. So we've been prepared to that. Doesn't mean this preparation is enough, but then then that's what we need to think. I prepared to that, but when it came real, I said, I think I overdone this a little bit. It's too hard now. So how is this seen by you at this moment is very important. And how is this poor or rich as your understanding right now? This might change the way you see things in the future. This might change the relationship you have with what you experienced in the future. Evolution has to do with this. Has to do with the way we cope, the way we relate to our own history, to our own deeds, and other people's deeds towards us. This has to do with that. So childhood is a really good thing to start with, because we were like blank papers, with all our luggage, or blank papers, but with our luggage very live. So the way we respond to that has to do with our luggage. Is a clean study of ourselves beforehand.
Well, if we see this condition as with lots of possibilities, we are not going to use so much the traumas as impacts us, because we are going to evaluate and to consider our paragenetics. So many times when psychologists work with us, they have a bit trouble in the beginning, because they studied and they were prepared to analyze everything and the consequences of the childhood period. But when we are doing this analysis from the whole package and the Conscientiogram, we try to see beyond. We try to see our difference and how we deal with the situations that could create any trauma, and we passed through, just overcame those conditions. Or sometimes something was smoothly, almost something, and then it's imprinted a mark so profound. And when you analyze with the eyes of the mental soma, you see, well, my childhood, why I had this, that, those conditions, and so not so. I didn't have really great problems, and so why I think I was so affected because of the love or affection that I didn't have. So we can ask ourselves and to think in other answers, and not the common place of answering this from the intraphysical conditions.
Very true. Many of the things that we've seen there, they're not what they look like. For instance, when I was looking towards my father, it wasn't my father who I was looking. It was someone that I knew for a long time, and I expected already some good or bad behavior from him. If you look at yourself, you're gonna see that. I trusted more, I trusted less that person, independently of what he or she were doing. So this tells a lot about us, and this is the trauma, and not what the person did to us. So this is the preconceived idea that we had towards that person, towards that situation, that counts much more than the actual actions that have been done, because there are also consequences already, and more than causes. Causes in general are much further down up the river you know. And this water we are seeing now is not the water anymore, but we are seeing the pressure of the water has to do with the cause that's been much further up in the river.
That's why the Conscientiogram help us to recycle many things, because
Yes.
we open up
To this broader view of things.
broader view. But here, when you analyze the things that happen in your childhood, you see how do you react and how does it impact you. You know, you still feel those things, you still, because you have to grade yourself today. If sometimes you didn't have the impact,
Yes.
and that's great. You became, but sometimes when you're born, you have something, and still today you cannot breathe very well.
Yes.
And then you have to mark that is real. You're having an impact from something that happened in your childhood.
Yes, I have a good example. I had impact for some people that I had that were actions much less important than some other people that had real bad actions towards me and almost zero impact. You know,
Yeah.
I had a grandmother that has done everything that you can imagine to make me jealous of my cousins, but I was never jealous of them. You know, she was like that. She didn't like my mother very much. I'm opening something really personal here. So she, because of not liking my mother, the first time I was like 2 years old, she gave me real, pepper to taste, and then I like that, Grandma. I like that. Weird kid. And then I said, I would like this thing, and then she gave it to my cousin. I said, oh, you get it. That's nice. But then afterwards I was thinking, my grandmother was trying to tease me. But I didn't understand that because I wasn't expecting this behavior from her. You understand what I mean? But, for instance, from my father, that I had much more relationship, very tight, in terms of affection, anything that he would say would hurt me much more. And much less than my grandmother. If he changed the tone, it would be like, oh, wow, why was he so hard to me? And that was, at that point, it wasn't trauma. I don't have any trauma of that. But at that point, it was hard to listen to my father this way. I was more sensitive because of our prior relationship. So this is something that we need to look into in a different way,
On this way, we can see, were you really a victimized child, or you self-victimize yourself?
Yes.
Yeah, because the conditions are really different. You
Yeah.
can be victimized in your childhood,
Yeah.
or not, and then it's just by yourself. Okay?
You can.
So, number 44. How do you judge yourself as a homo naturalis? Did you present an infantile precocity? Were you a mediocre child? Did you suffer from intellectual retardation? So here we are going to see, first, as Magali said, we have 3 questions. And as a homo naturalis, or it means in a natural condition, which were the real marks or the real conditions in your precocity, in your period? Did you have more qualities or not? So we are talking about the best conditions of strong traits, abilities, and also when you have more and more good things and strong traits in this period. So did you present these precocities, these good conditions, these strong traits when you were a child? or you didn't have this, nothing of this. You were like someone in a common condition,
Yes, average.
mediocre, average, on average, you see? Or did you have some problems, really problems, intellectual retardation, or here we have a specific condition because we are talking about the mental somatic impacts.
Yes.
So you have a better condition on the top,
Yes.
or
yes.
you have a lack of brain capacities.
Capabilities, yes.
Brain
So it also talks about the capability, learning capability. You can talk about learning capability in a broader sense, right? Precocity, you learn fast. Very early up, you're good in your schedule, right? Earlier in your schedule, you learn things. Then average is you on time, right? Average, mediocre. So you're like normal. And retarded doesn't mean you're retarded. It means you're a late bloomer in many aspects. You're a late bloomer, especially intellectually. Some people bloom intellectually much later because they're so much busy with the bodies, and that's why it's intersomaticity.
Yeah.
You're so busy taking care of your monkey. You know the monkey. Monkey is the
Body.
Everyone receives a monkey. You know, how is your monkey doing? So you have the best pet. Our first pet we receive is our monkey, and it's very demanding, especially in the childhood. Your parents and yourself, everybody around is gonna be, feeding this monkey. So my monkey. How was my monkey as far as learning is concerned? So the thing is, if it was too demanding and I had no space for the intellect, that's something to think about. So this is more to yourself. The other questions were more on the environment.
Yeah.
This is specifically to you. How were you towards learning?
Yeah, your learnability.
Learnability.
Yeah, the quality of your capacity of learning. Yeah. So you can give a mark according to what you think of your condition.
According to your facts, no?
According
Let's
to the
remember
facts,
that.
yes.
Yeah,
Because
According to the
sometimes
facts.
you have to see the facts. Sometimes you had problem at school, that is a fact.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have difficulty to learn math, it's a fact. That you having, because I was in average, I was so good at school.
Yes.
So it's about your intellectual
Yeah.
capacity. So look for your real problems in the childhood or to your real geniality. That's it. Look if you were, maybe you were not so good in some points, but you were really good in other points. So that's is good things. No, maybe sometimes you were a genius in some part of your life. No, in the others you were not so good. So you have to do a balance about that. Right?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good point.
Because you can have precocities in other qualities.
Yes.
You can be very psychomotricity
Yes.
abilities, the manual abilities, or also
Psychic phenomena.
Yeah.
You can also be
And
emotionally. When I was a child, I thought that adults were dull from the point of view of emotion. I think they are so dramatic. Why do they talk to me? What? I think they're kind of retarded. I thought this when I was a child. Why did? Why? What is this with? What's going on with their minds? What they think that I am a pet? I think like they don't understand me. That's some. So I think at that point emotionally, I had
More
some.
mature.
I was more mature.
You see, if you have a parapsychic abilities, they could disturb your learnability also.
Oh, but
So they can bloom later.
But can also be a geniality here.
Yes, can also be a geniality.
Because it's also a part of your capacities, your mental somatic abilities.
Yes.
Parapsychism.
Good point.
So if you have, it's a point of view for you know.
Good one.
So,
Okay. Shall I continue? Okay, number 45. How were you regarding the rhizoma? A competitive child, culturally well-born, timid, poor, or indigent? So, how was your rhizoma? The context of your rhizoma. A competitive child, culturally well-born, timid, poor, or indigent. Look, it's not, even though there is an or at the end, some of those things are not exclusive. You can be culturally well-born and poor. I said I was, right?
Or timid.
Timid, right? But competitive child and timid sometimes doesn't match, right? Indigent and poor, it could be, right? Indigent and culturally well-born doesn't match. But what is asking here, and it gave you 5 different aspects to analyze, and you can even add more if you remember something else. It has to do with the environment, with the conditions, with the conditions of your rhizoma. So those were the conditions I had when I was born. And then you give your mark based on facts and how those conditions affected you.
That's right, yes. So, let's go to the other one.
Okay.
Yes, 46. What social condition did you have during the infancy phase? Financially destitute, singular, mediocre, good, or super privileged? So that's also something that is analyzing your social condition, no?
Your financial condition.
Yes, that's it. Then he came with financial.
With financial condition.
Yes,
Very specific.
yes. So you have to analyze how it was your financial situation and also how did it impact you. I will give my example that I think always help to give an example. And like in my family, when I was a child, my father and my mother, they decided to change from a rent apartment to a house. They started to buy a house. So we moved to a really, my mom told me that I was 2 years old, and when I entered to the house, I said, "Wow, Mom, let's go back to our nice apartment." So I didn't like the house. I was, looking for the form and all these things. So they bought a house. But was a time that in Brazil had a lot of inflation. And so everyone was trying to pay, and they could only pay the interest. Because the money was crazy that time. And so I was a little child, and I could hear them talk about it. Was not in my plate. I could eat, I have the basic things, but I could see they talk about money, and that affect me till today. I affect me till today.
To be more secure, you have to have some money.
Compensate, and I always try.
If you don't
I still developed a little bit of tag. I don't have tag, clinic tag, but tag is a transtorn of general anxiety. No, it's a disorder.
General anxiety
disorder.
It should be
general anxiety disorder. I don't have that, but it was generating me a little anxiety, you know, about the future, how dangerous is the future, and I need money, otherwise it will be a problem. So that situation is have an impact in me. That's why I grade less here, you know. And but I have to. You have always to balance it to other things that you have that was good for you.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't have. I didn't had. I will ask the question here in a few minutes, but I didn't have any problem with food, you know, that it was really, but that impacted me so much about their talking about money that the worries.
Yeah, the worries.
Yeah, and I was a child. I didn't have the equipment to understand that. I started to be, wow, no money, you know, and that pressed me a lot.
Yes, okay.
Let's see, there is a question here for Miso V. Is that? I don't know if I pronounced really well, but let's see. Miss, no? So V. What about being intellectual better than normal, but social weaker? Does it also diminish the number? Oh yes, so
I think she's talking about the
Sophie.
Yeah,
the number 43. I think it's about number 43.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, really, you can see what was which were the consequences for your life as good condition in a social good condition, having this in order of affect your intellectuality. So if you have better conditions, you are going to have good mark in spite of not having a social condition so good. I think
but what I think here is that it's also an ability of social. You can grade that because you have some if you're social weaker. If it is a miss of intelligent, social intelligent, you know.
No, I think social weaker. In that sense, we're talking here probably more with the social condition, social level, social financially. I think she's talking about this.
Not in fact sociability.
Not sociability in that sense. Yes, and
which
because sociability is not covering here, so it should be like 43, 43 or. On the number 43, you need to see how this balance or unbalance of things turned out to be right now.
But she's talking about 44, no?
I think it's 42 because
I think it's 42, could be 42.
Yeah, social class and cultural class.
44. She's talking about 44. So
44.
if you're talking about 44, that means. Did you present any infantile precocity and were you a mediocre child? Did you suffer from intellectual retardation? So that you can score for that.
Good score. On 44, it's talking about yourself, not the environment.
But here
you are intellectually.
But she mentioned the question.
Okay.
She mentioned the social condition not so good.
Yeah.
And the better
I see.
cultural condition. Yeah. So it, as we see,
because
all the questions they have some. At some point, they have connections. You see.
Because here, when she's talk about being intellectually better than normal, but socially weaker.
It could be socially also sociability.
Sociability. I think she's talking about your abilities with social, you know.
Yeah. In that sense, she needs to clarify that. If socially weaker, she's talking about number 44 has to do with more herself than the the group karmality, then the environment she's in, and
It's
everything.
Sophie, no?
No, it's Sophie.
Sophie. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sophie.
So yeah,
So
you just
we
let
need
us
to
know
know,
if you're
yeah.
if you're talking about
Social ability,
sociability,
or just a social.
or just the social level, social position, and everything.
That's it.
But
Okay.
but either way, you need to think what is your outcome of that, outcome of that. How you became because of those conditions.
Okay, while
Okay.
She answered.
Uh-huh.
yeah, we see the 47, okay?
Okay.
What has the average holosultan of your intraphysical life been until now? Stimulating, supportive, neutral, hostile, intrusive, pathological, or destructive? What of use remains from your infantile life? So, the last question, you can see the useful, what remains from the whole period of your childhood, okay? In spite of the conditions of the holosultan. But, as you can see, did you have support, or did you have many problems like in hostile and intrusive or pathological or destructive holosultan in your infancy period? Which was the quality, yeah? And now you see not just that period, because it extends in your intraphysical life until now. So in these questions you start to evaluate the condition in your childhood and extends to now, because you could have some condition and it changed because of some madrinha.
Some sponsored,
Sponsor,
someone that
something.
helped you, or
Yeah.
some opportunity, some break that you had in your life, or something like this. Or yourself, you overcame the situation by yourself. It's really interesting. This question shows a little bit of, it came a lot of thinking around environment and ourselves. And here it goes specifically. And tells you even very destructive on a very open, big range of possibilities, from the very destructive to the very good, to the very healthy, and how all those things pertain to the Holocene. So the Holocene is this energy, is the let's say the result of all of this all together, all these experiences that you had, and how you relate to this. So I like the last question. What of use remains from your infantile life? What of use?
You are going to do a balance right now.
Yeah.
And independent of what happened, the stimulating, the supportive, or the bad things, you are going to have to make an average and see what the impacts yourself. Okay.
All right. Very good. So 48. What type of tutelage did you receive, and how were your changes of address? Did you have an advantages or disadvantages family structure? Very interesting question. So you're gonna think about tutelage could not be, maybe not your father and mother, could be aunt, could be your big brother, godmother, neighbor, whoever was taking care of you more continuously.
A nanny.
A nanny.
Mm-hmm.
A nanny. Could be a nanny. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Could be a teacher. So what type of tutelage did you receive, and how were your change of address? This is very interesting. Did you change a lot of address in your childhood? How does this impact? A child, when it changes it changes socially. It also has to do with the whole scene of the place you go. I remember I moved when I was 7. About 7 years old is about the time my friends from the past started to find me. And more specifically, the energy of the place that I went was really good for them. So we made a big meeting in that specific apartment that my mother and my father purchased at the time.
Big encounter.
So it was a big encounter of old pals, you know. So it was really interesting area, really interesting time. This was around 1970, and so this is something that I need to take into account. I would say, did I have an advantages or disadvantages family structure? What that means how was the relationship between your father and mother? Your father and mother were all together, and the fact that they were together, the structure is good, because sometimes you have they split, but then it's more peaceful. But you need to cope with this thing. But sometimes they are together and it's bad because they are together, or everything is good, even if they are together or not. The family structure has to do with this kind of thing that you will rely upon. Can you rely upon something there? You need to rely to grow like a tree, you know. You need some ground to grow. No ground, you don't grow. You know, that's the family structure. You don't grow as a personality at that point. You need to grow later. So you hold yourself until you have grounds to grow.
And our psychosomatic condition is very important. When you're talking about the support of the family and the structure, it means everything related things, intraphysical conditions, the intellectual ones, and also the affective support, their relation, the affectionate, or did you receive in fact care and love, or did you received the way they could offer it to you, and how did you receive what they were able to offer? Yeah, that's another point, that sometimes we try to charge someone for our conditions, and in fact they did their best. Yeah.
And that is related more with your structure, internal structure, because then you come and you deal with that. And most of us could come in a no structure family, no? In a family that have conflict and difficulties. But how do you overcome that? How could you help them? Sometimes we have this problem with we have that problem of what happened in the past is affecting us, but we deal with that because of our intermissive course, and we knew that we should come to this family that time and we should help them, and then there is a time that we feel better about all this problem we had, you know. And I think that is a case of how do you analyze that. But in any case, if you had a non-structured family and you felt that affect you, your grade goes down.
I have an example. My parents used to change lots of address. but because they were starting life. I came from a very basic condition. I couldn't say poor, but you see, it's a simple one. And then my father bought a house. They did repairs, and after that he sold. And so he did it sometimes. Yeah. And I used to think that I have the strong trait of adaptability. Yeah, I do have this good condition, but also as I can see now, this condition of all changing places all the time, I didn't get good relationships, and they didn't have connections more profound. So although I have sociability, my affection was like I think I know I'm going to lose, so I don't want to suffer. So to prevent myself from suffer, because the changes would happen, and I learned that it would happen a lot. I start not having more friendship, closer, more affection, and this is something that I feel consequence and sequela till now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This condition, and start with changing places, and I was thinking, wow, good, the new one. I like the new one.
That is a good fact to
but
study.
I was affected.
How that affect the way you behave now. That's a very good example.
Yeah.
Very good example.
So, let's go to the 49. What were the repressions and the subsequent sequelas during your childhood, adolescence, adulthood, and in human life in general? Here he is talking about repression and sequela, no? And when you talk about sequela is today, childhood, adolescence, so how that affect all these periods of your life, no? Your human life. So repressions, normally when you're a child, you are repressed in some ways, no? It's normal to be repressed. Because the father and the mother cannot let you do whatever you want, so you need some repressions. But when we talk about those repressions, how it affects you, sometimes there is some situation that are extremes and difficult, and then in your life it is appear everywhere, no? Like I have a friend that has she used to go with her mother in her mother used to clean houses, and she used to go as a child with her mother when she didn't have where to stay. So, but she couldn't do anything. She was so repressed by her mother, and she had to sit, imagine a young child to have to be there, sit, not doing anything, you know. And her mother repressed her also with, you know, hit her a lot and all these things. And now she's a person more is isolated. She doesn't talk, you know, much. She talks, but not much. She listens more, and she's a lot of the repression make her life different. She does not express herself as she should, you know. That's a bad way of repression, because we should be repressed to let the others talk too, no? Not only you have to talk, so you have to learn and re-educate yourself. But repression is like when you don't show yourself in a good way with people, you know?
Yeah, it's also important to discover when it's self-repression, because sometimes other people are repressing you. but you're not self-repressing yourself, even though they are repressing you. If you get to the point to actually do a self-repression, that goes beyond the action of the other person. So the action of the other person is just a trigger of something inside of me. That's how I usually think about it. Remember my grandmother. She was doing something, but there was no trigger. If something else, much smaller, she touches and my trigger goes off. So that's when I need to repress, because it went off, my emotion would come and I would say, no, I don't want that. Then you repress yourself and you somehow do with yourself. So I think this repression we are talking here is what you do with yourself after someone did something to you. But it's as a consequence of something happening to you, and then we are doing that. So that person, I don't know what led her to do this, but there must be something else besides that situation. I went out with my mother to work as a child. She was a teacher. I would go in class with her and would not talk, but I would love it. I would love to watch the class, to watch the people. But no, okay, I won't talk, Mom. That's okay. As long as I'm here, I wanna watch it. So it was a lot of pleasure. So it triggered something good out of me, that situation. But you cannot talk anything. Remember, never. Okay, all right, because you're not there to talk. Okay, Mom. I didn't find it as a repression.
And
right?
there is also the environment, no? How is your mama dealing with you? And there is a little bit of ourselves, a lot of ourselves, but also when you're a child, how does it impact later your life? Because you can re-educate yourself, understand the problem,
and the environment,
and go on.
And the environment has to do also with our past. Well, it's our holophytinic form. Yeah. What does it raise there? Yeah. It raises what kind of energy?
Yeah, but that's one thing that's important in this sheet, evaluation sheet, because your childhood impacts your
life too.
And so sometimes, because I see a lot of repressions I have because of the start of my life has a little bit of me. I'm a more like timid, not timid, but shy,
introspective, right?
And then comes outside something. I'm more sensitive, so it's both things, no? But then you have to analyze your repressions. If you do express your potentials, because when we talk about repression, we also talk about our potentials in life, our evolutionary level, and sometimes we don't express it. Why? Some could be, and that is what you have to analyze, could be something that, a little thing that you haven't solved in your childhood. Sometimes it's that.
Yes.
Sometimes it's something you haven't solved in your past life, and so on. But if you have a repression, you have to analyze, is from this life, I have that repression from my childhood or not?
And also, as you said, the good repressions, you mean the limits. The limits that a child needs to grow,
to feel loved,
loved and to be healthy. Yes. Because they can't do everything once, like the instincts.
Yes.
To let all the instincts know.
We have our time now. I don't know, today we are gonna do it.
It's the autonomous, yes, definitely.
Yeah, so today we are gonna do our break. So how does it work? It's not a break.
Yes.
Can
It's
you
not
explain? Do you want to
Yeah,
explain what
it's
is that?
actually now we've been discussing together, but now we're gonna give you some time on your self-conscientiometric field. It's gonna be just yourself for 15 minutes. It's an exercise that you're gonna do by yourself afterwards during the week as well, because we're gonna have other evaluation sheets that you need to do during the week for next class. So the idea now is that for those 15 minutes, you're gonna focus, do what we are doing, interpret the questions, give your marks, and so forth. So if you have any doubts during this period, you can also type. We are probably gonna answer just typing because we're not gonna say. You're gonna be silently on this side as well.
And it's a nice period because you are going to feel the conscientiometric field, and this is a very special one. I love it because we have a mental somatic approach, and then we can visitate, review things.
Yes.
That sometimes we have some emotional marks, but in this field we have the ability of thinking about things, and sometimes we feel, and also we have the consciousness. But as we are in a prepared place, environment, and we are doing it technically, we have more lucidity to be profound and to face our facts, to face ourselves with more maturity.
Okay. So have your experience. We'll be back in 15 minutes. So 1:45 p.m.
Nice.
Okay. time to analyze your questions. And we even had a question here from Ligia that she asked about the question 55 regarding competency in infancy. On a scale from 1 to 5, what was the physical life that the consciential basement allowed? So anyone wants to answer that?
Yeah, the thing, we asked to look at the 54 when it's asked to classify your consciential basement. Is it enriching? Was it enriching, insipid, or traumatic infantile period? So when it came back your, let's say, baggage, and during the period that you develop in your subbrain, so how does that affect you? So you classify on number 54. Only when it comes to 55, it could be bad and it didn't affect you, your competency was good, and it could be good and affected you positively as well. So that's what you need to give a grade. So you consider that a strong trait or a weak trait. This is something that blocked you more, or there's something that made better for you. Okay?
Mm-hmm. We have another question here.
52. Number 52.
You
can do that, right?
I can do 52. So here, 52, Zovi, is what was your result regarding the three brotherhoods? Consanguineous, brotherhood, due to affinity, and group karmic. So here is to analyze our conviviality with in childhood with those in those groups, Why? Because it was us affected, with those groups, in those groups, like three brotherhoods, Consanguineous, it means your family. How was your family interaction with you? Sometimes there is what we were talking about, some problem with brothers, with father, with mother, and so you don't deal well with that. So there is brothers that don't speak for years, and so brotherhood due to affinity. How was your affinity? Which kind of person in your childhood you were attracted to? Sometimes people live in I lived in an Italian neighborhood that was starts to be a kind of dangerous, but I was never attracted to that childhood, children that wants to fight, and no, I didn't want that. So I'm not attracted to those kind of persons. So, and sometimes people goes with others that are really not a good affinity for their evolutionary things that they have to do. So, and also Grupo Karma. Grupo Karma is all that the environment you are involved with in your school or whatever. You can think about all these people that you met.
Family, evolutionary family, people that are close to you, people that had a lot of contact to you, with affinity or not. So
your country, your city, is also a group because you're inside that group.
Your area, is it people who
How does it affect you, Zovi, in your life? So you grade better if your childhood was good with the environment that helped you to develop, and you grade less if your childhood you had lots of difficulties with people, even because not only about them but about you too. It's always about the both parts. So that's it.
The point of view is always evolutionary. How this changed you evolutionarily. It is something that accelerated or impaired in some way your evolution. How do you feel about it? Do you feel good about morally at ease, peacefully inside, or do you have something that's bothersome? If there is, you need to look at it. And sometimes there is something that was holding you back there. It's a good thing to analyze.
The quality of these relations and also the sociability is connected with the free will, and this is according to our choices and sometimes interpretations. And then we are more connected and more related with consanguineous or with the affinity and also grupo karmic, because you could do something but you didn't. Why did you do? Because if you are going to see really the facts, your free will couldn't be so opened, and you will be determined by some conditions. The consanguineous family can be more determinist and more supportive instead of pathological. But it's going to tell about your past and your potentialities in this life to face and to overcome.
It also has to do, for instance, if you recognize yourself as an epicenter of revolution in your environment, it's also a good feeling about it. Instead of having, frustration and everything, you're probably the more mature in the group. So you feel good about it. That's something that. What is the result? What is the reminiscences of this period and those relations up to now? Facebook helps you on that, because if you have someone from your past and then it appears on Facebook all of a sudden, that comes with a baggage, some baggage. What is this baggage about? And then you can answer better this thing.
And what we see is that less conflict with yourself, less conflict with others.
Exactly.
So you can grade yourself. How much conflicts do you have around you? And then don't just blame others, because others are, it's him, it's her, and then you never look to yourself and see, wow, what about these conflicts? Do I have to do with that? What's my part on these whole problems in my family, in my group of friends?
When you're studying a consciousness from the evolutionary point of view, it's always the consciousness decision, now or before. When she was saying when it's an interpretation, there was a couple of choices that have been done before that changed the current situation, but it was yourself who's done that. So that's what we're looking into, the way we look at it. Right?
Okay. Now we are in our time to do the energetic wrap up. Okay. Now and then the energetic exercise that Luimara, could you do it? And so we hope next week, next Sunday, I hope everyone that is interested in the course register themselves. I ask Carolina and Adriana to put the email here if you have any questions. So we are forming our group now for the next week. Please register yourself. If you have any problems, please write to us, okay? Thank you, and let's do our energetic exercise.
Okay. From now on, be more close to yourself. Take a deep breath. Concentrate your energies on the top of your head, and then spread this energy as doing an energetic shower the whole energosoma. Again, concentrate the energies on the top of your head. Activate your coronal chakra. And when you feel these energies condensed, do again your energetic shower. Now spread all these good energies, exteriorizing. Put your intention, qualify your intention with the pattern of brotherhood and maxi fraternity. Exteriorize from all your chakras. Slow down. And now install the vibrational state. Make the connection with the physical helpers. With your intensive course. Now, let it naturally slow down. Increase your self-confidence in your power of controlling your energies, your thoughts. And let's make a little smooth movements. Open your eyes.
Okay, so next week we are gonna be talking to the ones that register, of course. Unfortunately, it's been a pleasure to be with all of you, but unfortunately for next class, we're gonna have the group that is enrolled. So for next class, we are gonna be talking on the ES number 6, which is page 68. So in the meantime,
No, it's that one. No, it's
no, sorry, it's not. Sorry.
It's 3.
It's 8, number 8. Sorry,
Yeah.
I turned one page less. So it's ES number 8, which is also intrasomaticity, is compaternity, which is really interesting. We studied the children, and we are gonna study the parents now. So has a lot to do, the two of them. But in the meantime, if you can, would be interesting for you to do number 1, ES number 1, intrasomaticity, number 2, heritability, finish up minority, sexuality, and youth. Those are the ones that were to be covered, that are or should be covered this week. Don't worry too much. Find your rhythm during this week to see how many can you do during the week. The idea is not complete the conscientiogram by making yourself suffer. That's not the idea. The idea is to be able to create a routine, find your own rhythm. If you cannot finish during the course, you'll finish up to where you see fit, as far as you can go. But if you go and take 1 hour, 1 hour and a half every day, you should be able to cover that. Okay, for sure.
Yes, and don't be so stuck about the grade. Sometimes we stay there and we just give the grade. You see that in that time is the best one for you. That you can.
It's a learning process.
And then during the class you're gonna see and you're gonna adjust it.
Yes.
Giving not grades, be dramatic with this.
Yeah, giving grades, it's a learning process. So don't expect to do the right grade right away.
Yes, and also deal with the extra-physical things now, because there is lots of extra-physical things in the beginning of Conscientiogram, also during the whole Conscientiogram, but in the beginning, sometimes we don't have, still we are not used to it.
Okay.
That's it.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye. See you next class.